What if you had the ability to steal hearts? To rid the world of those who abuse their power, or to free those who become slaves to their own personal desires? What if you had a persona? Persona 5 is a game that seemingly needs no introduction at this point, but I'ma give you one anyway. The game was developed by Atlas and was directed and produced by Katsura Hoshino. It also serves as the 6th installment to the Persona series, which in of itself is a spin-off to the Shin Megami Tensei series. Another thing about Persona 5 is that during its release schedule, it was pushed back whole years. It became a meme and how this game just would never come out. But it finally did on the 15th of September 2016 in Japan and on the 4th of April 2017 for everybody else. It was no one's fucking business just how well received this game was, scoring 10 out of 10s everywhere, and people who aren't usually well versed in JRPGs picked it up out of curiosity. Including me. So with that, how is the game? Well, you read the title, and let the pitch begin. Persona 5 is set in the stylish and fictionalized version of Shibuya, Tokyo. It's also essentially what is two totally different games mixed into one gigantic game. The one half being a Japanese high school student who balances their time between studying, having a part-time job, and managing their secret harem. The other half is, well, this. Yeah, this game gels what is essentially single-player Sims and a full-on dungeon crawler action JRPG. The first time I played Persona 5, which is also my first Persona game in general, felt a bit overwhelming. Yeah, due to the sheer amount of content put into a game like this, feels like you're living a different life through the protagonist. And you can even call it Persona just by that fact alone. But one of the main drives around games like this is the story. And unfortunately, I'm gonna go into a bit of spoiler territory with the first palace. So if you are very sensitive to spoilers and you don't want your experience to be hampered at all, here is a time code where I stop talking about it and I just jump into gameplay. And besides, whatever I show you on screen anyway will have no context, so you're not really losing, aren't you? Now, onto the story. The story of Persona 5 revolves around you, the protagonist. Akira, Ren, you get to name him whatever you want. I will refer to him as Joker. Joker was wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit by a man of power who was harassing a woman on the street. Joker's resolve into stopping this got him put into probation, expelled from school, and now branded as a criminal with a record. Yeah, this game does not hold back its punches when shitting on the main character. During the probation period, we are sent to Yonginyaya, where we meet our caretaker, Sojiro Sakura. Here he takes us to our new school, Shujin Academy, and let's just say, no one fucks with the guy with a criminal record. Weird, huh? The next day, we meet our key players in the first palace. The outspoken An Takamaki, the persistent and conceited Kamoshida, and the precious boy Ryuji Sakamoto, and also this little shit. Here the game reminds us that earlier we had a mysterious app installed onto our phone the day before, and after we utter the phrase, "perfect teacher," we are actually teleported into a different reality and see this. This is the metaverse, and this is the first palace. Later we run into some guards, put into a dungeon, and see Kamoshida. After this, we are subjected to watch Kamoshida maliciously abuse Ryuji, or we are held back, unable to do anything. We feel this rush, this sense of injustice. We want to rebel against Kamoshida. We want to save Ryuji. And that is when the contract is sealed.
Bow to me. I am thou art I. Thou who art willing to perform all sacrilegious acts for thine own justice. Call upon my name and release thy rage. Show the strength of thy will to ascertain all on thine own, though thou be chained to hell itself. I am the pillager of twilight, Arsene!
Now appears the name of the game, our first persona, Arsene. There are a few story details I conveniently missed out, but there are a few things to note for the rest of the video. 1. Palaces serve as a housing for one's twisted desires and manipulate a structure into what the palace owner sees that structure as. In Kamoshida's case, since he is the palace owner, he sees the school as his own castle, and to add to that, palaces, they basically work like dungeons. 2. Palaces exist within the cognitive world of the metaverse. Those who possess the Metaverse Navigation app can access the metaverse through there directly. 3. After beating Kamoshida... spoiler alert. After beating Kamoshida, you, Ryuji, An, and Morgana serve as the founding members of the Phantom Thieves, which serve as your party members when accessing the metaverse. The Phantom Thieves grow in number and notoriety, but that's all story-related stuff, so I can't necessarily say who joins the Phantom Thieves, but you might get an idea. And with that, we can finally jump into gameplay. As I mentioned before, this game shares two worlds, the real world and the metaverse. It's very important for you to be able to put equal effort into these different parts, as each world has a direct impact on each other. If you focus too much on trying to beat a palace, for example, you will soon realize that all the different perks that come with deepening your relationships with your teammates and other characters are non-existent, and you look like a fucking tryhard. The key to progress within the real world all revolves around your personality stats. Yeah, that stinky thing you call a personality, can't get away from it in this game. The stats include intelligence, guts, proficiency, kindness, and charisma. So doing things like studying to increase your intelligence and watering a plant for increased kindness is essential. Also, getting a part-time job is important too. But let's be fair, if you can farm, who the fuck wants to do that? Now, increasing all these stats help within using the Confidant system. The Confidant system is used for you to interact with the people around you in order to deepen your bond with them and gain skills useful in battle. The stories around Confidants really allow the game to show parts of the character you wouldn't necessarily see through the main narrative, and even going to different towns would help you discover Confidants you would have never known existed if you didn't explore. Now, I must say, some of these Confidant stories really help to get the player lost into the protagonist's role. I know the Confidants you interact with really start to feel like real people, with problems you can sympathize with. Emphasis on some though. And now for the part of the game most people would probably get more excited about, the metaverse. Depending on how well you prepare in the real world would determine just how well you can progress in the metaverse. I cannot stress that enough. While the game itself tells you to take your time, you actually have a time limit in order to finish the palace and manage your day-to-day life, so that thing called planning, yeah, do it. Palace gameplay is nothing too unfamiliar to the usual dungeon crawler. It uses very basic stealth mechanics and the puzzles aren't that difficult, but some can get a little tedious if you know what I mean. In an actual battle, you encounter something called shadows, demons, the common enemy types within Persona 5. Each of them have a distinct weakness, so it's up to you to figure out what it is or search online in order to get the upper hand in battle. Once you've found the weakness of the shadow, combat becomes a walk in the park and you realize, hey, this is basically Pokemon with JoJo stands. Once you've downed all your enemies, you can actually negotiate with them to join your Persona roster, ask them for money or an item, but the most stylish way of ending the battle, the all-out attack.
Looking cool, Joker! Okay, guys, let's do it!
You can obviously farm for more experience because the game can really get tough if you're underleveled, so please take your time, plan, and beat the shit out of those shadows. Finally, the purpose of actually entering a palace is of course to steal a treasure. You are phantom thieves, remember? This is the manifestation of the twisted desires of the palace owner. And by stealing it, you would take away those desires and make the owner have a change of heart. See now why it's called Take Your Heart? Yeah, this game takes your heart, your time, and your soul. Persona 5 really speaks for itself when discussing its presentation. I mean, look at that opening cinematic just to understand how fucking aesthetically pleasing this game can get. Due to the striking art style of the game, it's amazing how Atlus managed to show how a timeless and focused aesthetic can hold up a game's visual quality, regardless of the console. Yeah, this thing was originally made for the PS3, but if you compare them side by side, it still holds up with just very minor issues. Even in the player interface of the game is kept so slick within its design, and is very streamlined for anyone to really understand it. This is why combat is kept so fast and fluid, as the required button prompts are just kept to 3 to 5 inputs anyway. It's crazy. And of course, the cutscenes are rendered beautifully within the game's internal engine, and the occasional anime-style cutscene as well. The palace designs are also very unique to the palace owner, ranging from very linear yet striking hallways to a bank. Yeah, a fucking bank. The character designer of Persona 5, Shigenori Sojimiya, is the one you have to thank for all your future waifus and husbandos alike. Overall, there's plenty to say about the art direction of this game, so it's best to experience it all firsthand. Composed by Shoji Meguro and the Atlus sound team, the soundtrack is outstanding in how it gives the character so much game. I mean, how it gives the game so much character. Meguro himself drew inspiration from the very influential anime Lupin III when making the soundtrack for Persona 5. He was inspired by the very smooth jazz used in Lupin and wanted to use a very similar sound within this game. Each palace has 2 central themes that loops throughout your time there, and it never feels like it was getting tiresome to listen to them. Well, some of them at least. Even when I was re-listening to the soundtrack recreationally, I still felt that feeling of being that palace again. It's a feeling that only the best soundtracks can achieve, and I'm sure you will enjoy it too. And to top it all off, there are whole concerts dedicated to live performances of the soundtrack. So, need I say more about this? Freedom and rebellion are the main themes within Persona 5. We see many characters get treated unfairly throughout the game, and the answer to these problems are to take a stand against the powers that be with the power you have. When a character's persona is awakened, it is usually fueled by the drive to go against either a label or a circumstance that the character is in. It's also like them realizing that what exactly holds them down as outcasts within society becomes their exact strength, their form of rebellion and freedom. It's also very implied through each of the Phantom Thieves' metaverse attire, showing just how much their rebellion runs through them, even to some degree their own personas. Joker, for example, is dressed within a very dark attire that shows his thief persona quite openly, but adds red gloves to symbolize his tainted name through his criminal record, maybe implying that his own sense of rebellion comes within taking something away, even if you have to get your hands dirty in the process. It's also further implied within his own persona, Arsène, serving as a callback to the gentleman thief Arsène Lupin, and also being another callback towards Lupin III. Persona 5 deals with a lot of very serious and dark themed social issues in order to make the story more grounded in reality. These themes do not serve as a means to an end, as it sometimes become a huge motivator into stopping the palace owner. I would like to showcase this within one of the characters in the first palace, Suzui Shiho. And if you know, then you know, it's going to get pretty depressing. Shiho was the only friend An had, and vice versa. She is a member of the girls' volleyball team at Shujin, whose coach is Kamoshida himself. Through the first hours of the game, we see Shiho as this very reserved, very lethargic character. She never shows any semblance of happiness on her own unless she is with An. As we progress further, we see Shiho develop signs of abuse, evident with the bruise marks she has hidden under her hair. We only see this develop after another member of the volleyball team, Yuki Mishima, calls Shiho to see Kamoshida privately. After we, as Joker, catch An arguing with someone in public on the phone, it is presumed and later confirmed to be Kamoshida. He demanded An to sleep with him in order to keep Shiho on the volleyball team as a starter, which An obviously denied, but led to a very traumatic experience in the game.
Suzui, are you leaving?
What is it?
Mr. Kamoshida's asking for you. He's in the PE faculty office.
What did he say?
I don't know. Well, I have to go.
On.
The next day, we witness Shiho attempt suicide by jumping off the school building. While she survived the attempt, she mentions Kamoshida being heavily involved with the incident. I don't mean to upset anyone when I say this, but I believe due to all the implications and implied actions by Kamoshida, he raped Shiho after he was denied by An. Like I mentioned, it was implied by the cast, but is never explicitly said. Very real social issues are shown throughout Persona 5, but rarely called out by name. Well, very taboo topics such as rape are not called out by name. While people can still feel extreme hatred and determination to defeat Kamoshida without naming what he did to Shiho, it still seems like a very poor decision to gloss over something as serious as this by, what Ryuji put it as, "You know what you did to her." While Persona 5 can miss the mark with dealing some of these social issues, I believe it still takes a lot to put all of this within the first palace of the game and really showing how Persona wants to make an effort to highlight these issues. Issues such as injustice with Joker, abuse through the volleyball team members, and sexual harassment with female students, more notably An, and to a larger extent with Shiho. I think if Atlus actually did call out these implied actions by name, it would have sent quite the message directly to the player, thus making the writing a bit closer to what the game really wanted to address these issues as, versus how it actually came out in the game. I'm sorry if that whole story really put you on a downer, but hey, you'll get to kick Kamoshida's ass and avenge Shiho. Overall, this game is brimming with enjoyable content for anyone willing to pick up a controller and play the game. It's honestly quite the friendly game to get yourself introduced to the JRPG genre, the Persona series, and even gaming as a whole. It's such a fun game to get yourself completely lost in as your social links slowly become your social life, and you soon realize that you've lost an entire week of your life playing one game in order to have a perfectly normal life in Japan that all you weebs crave. Before this video ends, I do want to mention a certain elephant in the room that exists to contest and even replace the spot of Persona 5 within your game library, Persona 5 The Royal. Persona 5 The Royal serves as an expansion to P5 and adds new content such as new confidants, more palaces, and a whole slew of new surprises. And if any actual Persona fan notes the surprises, we all have Atlus to thank for that. Yeah, I'm not over this video at all. However, the existence of the Royal should really not deter the existence of Persona 5 Vanilla, as it's still a game that is worth more than the price you pay for. And if this video has made you at least interested in the game, why wait to play another game that is most likely to have so much new content it becomes a different experience altogether. Plus, as of the recording of this video, it is that time of year where games go for dirt cheap prices during Black Friday and Christmas. So please, consider adding this game to that list, and buy it digitally. I don't want you to get dunked on during the store. Trust me when I say this, you will not regret playing this game. Unless you have addiction issues, and this game is just a whole different line of cocaine. And with that, I hope I convinced you as to why you should play Persona 5. Hey, thanks for watching that whole cringe fest and making it to the end of the video. This is my first video ever on YouTube, so I have no idea how many people are going to watch this. All 10 of you, or 1 of you, all of my family. I have no idea who's going to watch this video, but I hope you enjoyed it right up to the end. And I have no idea how I'm going to make videos, what kind of videos I'm going to make. I might just randomly drop 3 videos on a day, or just be quiet for a whole month. Who knows, but yeah. YouTube is not the best time right now. It's kind of the most shitty time to be on YouTube, but hey, I'm here to have a fun time, and if that's taken away, well shit, you know? I have nothing to lose then. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I will have a second video, I just have no fucking idea what I'm gonna make. But yeah, thanks for watching and peace.
こんにちは。